You're listening to the Governors Podcast, which is hosted by school governors for school governors and for all involved in or impacted by education governance. On the Governors Podcast, we have open, honest, and transparent discussions about governance in the UK education sector, sharing and providing insights into the realities of entering the boardroom, sitting around the governing board table, and leaning in.
Hello, I'm Sharon Warmington, and as an experienced and qualified governance professional, I support schools and academies at trust and local level in driving governance excellence. I'm also the founder of the National Black Governors Network and the National Association of School and College Clerks. Collectively, with sector partners, we work with individuals and organisations seeking positive change at a strategic and operational level.
Hey, it's Olivia D. Hines here, an unapologetic millennial Black woman who is changing the face and space of education governance. I specialise in brand management, digital strategy, and generational diversity, bringing governance into the 21st century. I'm purpose-led and people-focused, bridging the gap between the then and the now.
And you're listening to the Governors Podcast.
Okay, let's get into today's topic.
Well, I thought today we've got no guests. I think this is the first time we haven't had a guest since the spring term 23-24.
Oh gosh, yes.
Because now it is the new academic year
24-25.
And so welcome. And so I just thought we'd have a quick catch up, touch base on what we're doing separately, really, in our various governance worlds. So what are you up to first, Liv?
Oh, I don't even know where to begin because as part of my preparation for this, because obviously we usually release content during term time, and so we've just come through the summer holidays, even though the last week of August never feels like the summer holidays because you're thinking about the academic year starting and you're getting emails again.
Some of us never stopped.
Well, there's that too. With the role that you have and the way you circle your world, I know that August is a time for still doing governance, but at a different pace.
Yes.
And I am still in my job during the summer now, and my job is placed in the governance space. But I was reflecting on the episodes of last season, so from September 2023 until July 2024. And there was an episode we did on confessions of a conference attendee or non-attendee, because I was talking about how I didn't really attend conferences.
Oh, right, yeah, I remember.
Because it depends on where they're scheduled. Like, is it during the week? Is it on the weekends? Is it during the day? Is it in the evening? And, what hat would I be wearing when I go and stuff? And then in May, end of April and beginning of May, I attended 3.
Wow.
2 of them were online.
You were playing catch up.
I really was. In the space of about 2 weeks. I attended 3. I attended an Academy Trust conference to speak about governance so that staff within an Academy Trust can understand more about what governance is all about, because a lot of the time teachers don't necessarily know who governors are. And so it was just really good to connect with that stakeholder group. I also attended a governors conference in Salford. So it was for Salford Council. And so I was able to speak to governors about how to attract and engage a younger audience for the governance space. And then the third one that I attended, these are in no particular order, but the third one that I attended was the Schools and Academies Show. So it was the first time not only attending the Schools and Academies Show as a speaker, but attending it full stop. And that was in person. And I must admit, I was super overwhelmed by the size of the venue, let alone getting to where
Yeah,
SAS was being held. And then it was just so exciting to see like education, like in a very tangible way, because for
yeah,
the
you can
last
touch
few
it and feel
years,
it almost.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
because for the last few years, it's on again, off again with, hybrid meetings, remote meetings. And then because I'm a governor, I'm more on the periphery of education at times. That's how it can feel. It's not like I'm in a school building every day, like teachers
Yeah.
and students and even parents when they're dropping off and picking up their children. So as a governor, I often attend meetings and do school visits. So maybe once a month, once every other month, I'm in the school building and usually when it's quiet. So
Hmm.
being in education, because even though I work for an education charity, our organization is completely remote. So being at that event, it was like everything all in one place, all at one time.
Like a
And
one-stop shop.
yes, 100%. And it was so exciting though. I had a really good panel session with a colleague from an academy trust, and I was able to talk about how governance is the responsibility of everyone. So it was an amazing event. There were so many people, so many different things going on. Of course, I had to pop across to the few stalls that were specifically explicitly related to governance. So I saw Governor Hub and I saw Governors for Schools whilst I was there. And it was just really good to experience education tangibly. So that was
Hmm.
summer. And
Hmm.
then from there, I feel like mentally, I've just been on this roller coaster in terms of the things that I'm doing. My mindset on governance has just expanded, which we'll get into later. But it's just been a really good, I don't know, 6 months. And obviously, having a number of guests in our last season, my brain was just firing on all
Yeah.
these different ideas, all these different experts in the space, or people who can come at things from different perspectives and offer
Hmm.
more to our listeners. So it's just been a lot. I feel like this year has very much been just I've been absorbing and downloading a lot of information, but
Hmm.
in a very excitable way. Like I haven't really felt overwhelmed. I've just felt re-energized, rejuvenated, like reminded of what my purpose is in this space. And you know, yeah, that's
That's,
that is
that's
me.
really good. That's really good. And the reason I'm smiling, although our listeners can't see our faces, the reason I'm
Yeah.
smiling is because I've been in governance in one form or another for my entire career.
Mm,
So from the age of 18, really,
mm,
I've either worked for um, directors, CEOs, managers who have that strategic input, or I've been around the governing board table wearing whatever hat,
mhm.
whether it's a governor, a trustee, a clerk, a governance professional, a COSEC, whatever it is. And I'm still not bored.
Yes. Yes.
I really do enjoy what I do. And I think because I've crafted my career to embrace governance in all its glory, so I'm not tied to one sector, although my heart and soul is in education. I also work and support governance in other areas.
Mm,
But just love it.
yeah.
And I think that comes out in when I'm speaking, when I'm doing my speaking engagements. I've had a few speaking engagements over the recent period, and also training and development, whether it's been teacher training programs, or whether it's been leadership. I, you know, did a program, a session for a trust on leading a diverse board.
Mhm.
They got all of their LGB chairs and vice chairs together, and I delivered a session on that, because it's okay. It's one thing saying you want diversity, but it's a completely different thing to actually lead a diverse board, because it's
Yeah.
understanding that the dynamics shift and
Yes,
change,
of course.
which is important. So the kind of things that I've been really, really, really excited about
Go on. Go
um,
on.
is I think two main things, but also a third, and not in any
Okay.
particular order because I don't want anybody to think that they are the third,
Yeah.
almost like an afterthought, because that's not the case.
Uh-huh.
Um, I am currently designing and delivering
Mhm.
a national accredited course for governance professionals. So, so although the pilot is targeted at education governance professionals, I am building the course so that it incorporates other sectors, both nationally and internationally,
Wow.
comparing and contrasting governance across sectors, across countries, and it's fascinating. It is absolutely, I'm so loving it. And
Oh,
it's
that's
like,
so good.
and because I'm the kind of person that I can't rinse and repeat things. It
Hmm.
has to interest me to get my passion in terms of delivery. So this is really exciting because I don't think it's been done. Um, but I'm doing it, and the pilot cohort group are loving it, which is
Hmm.
really
Helpful.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really helps. And hopefully, once I've completed the designing of it and the pilot finishes in the spring term, then I can package it and roll it out. But that is something that I'm really excited about because I do fundamentally believe that the education sector can benefit from understanding governance in other sectors,
Yes, definitely.
and bring that knowledge
Yeah.
into governance practice in education, because that's
100%.
that is what I do all the time, being
Yeah.
corporate governance trained.
Hmm.
Um, but I also think it's a good way for those governance professionals working in the education sector to see governance in other settings and
Hmm.
to start to chart their career if they haven't
Yes.
already,
Yes.
to see the world beyond education. And that's not to say that I want them to leave,
Hmm.
but I want them to find value in whatever it is that they do.
Yeah, I
I
hear
think
that.
that is really important. So that's one thing I've been
Okay, before you
doing.
just jump away into, because I know you're going to say that's one thing and then the other thing, but I want to kind of just jump in right in between there because obviously I'm aware of this course because I am your teammate in the back end
Yeah,
for things like this. But I didn't know that your vision was to make it accessible and to make it inclusive of different sectors,
oh
both
yeah,
nationally and internationally,
oh
because
yeah,
that is a very that's brilliant. Like it's brilliant. And even if you started to say something, you said, I don't know if something like this already exists, but I'm doing it anyway, which I think is a very powerful statement because you have always taught me that it doesn't matter who's already doing something. If you feel called to do something, then just
yeah,
do it anyway. Because when you go down the bread aisle in a supermarket, I think that's the analogy you
yeah,
use.
yeah.
There's different types of bread, and people still be making bread at home.
Home.
Like,
It's
so
so true.
there's really no boundaries or no limits to
Yeah,
what you can do or how you can show up and serve. And I think that was something that I just needed to circle back to because I felt it and it's really exciting. It is a lot of work,
oh
um,
yeah,
and it is a big task, but again, something that I've learned from being on a journey with you, feeding from you, but also feeding from the people you feed from. I remember something Lisa Nichols said in a training program I was a part of many years ago that said, if your vision doesn't scare you, it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
big
yeah,
enough. And
absolutely.
so that scares me. Not just because I know that I'll be involved to help you, bring it to life in the back end, but in terms of just knowing that your vision's so big, it's
Mm,
like that's scary, but it's a good kind of scary.
Yeah,
And
absolutely,
so
absolutely.
I'm so proud of you, and I'm inspired, yes, again, as I always am. But someone needs to do it. Like even if it does already exist, it wouldn't be in the volume because governance is still relatively unknown to a lot of
Mm,
people. And so it's good that you're putting yourself in there because I know I wouldn't be doing it because I'm not,
no,
I
yeah.
don't have the expertise in, being a company sec or being a governance professional, but I learn a lot from those individuals
Mm.
with the hats that I do wear and the roles that I do fulfill. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
I think it's important. I designed it specifically or with the I'll use the word ordinary, and I don't mean ordinary in terms of, a negative thing, but the rural clerk that's working in,
Mm,
Staffordshire or Shropshire or something, who may not feel that they have much to add or to give, but want to change.
yeah,
Because I think there is a lot of focus and wearing a governance professional hat in this moment. There's a lot of focus on academies and heads of governance and governance managers and COSECs and all of that. But I think the thousands of clerks that are out there,
yeah.
um, many of whom are working in the maintained sector, seem to get forgotten about
Mhm.
and lost. And so I wanted to create something that any clerk with any background, any person working in governance, whether in the private sector or in third sector, public sector, wherever they're at, or anybody with an interest in it,
Mhm.
it's not a qualification like a degree. It's not a qualification like the likes that CGI do or the one that I did. What it is almost like a first step to remove the or to open the blinds in what governance practice looks like in other settings and how you can enter it from
Oh,
whatever standing start you've got.
oh, you just took me back to, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it was my first lecture of my degree. So I did an international business and modern foreign languages, specializing in Spanish degree at
Mm-hmm.
Aston University. And I started this degree in 2012, which is scary. That's over 10 years ago. Oh my gosh. That's
You're
over 10
old,
years.
yeah.
Hey, I'm maturing.
Sorry, you're maturing.
I'm maturing.
My
Um,
apologies.
it's all good. Language is important. And so I remember one of the very first lectures of my first year of the first semester, the first term, as it were, there in the first week. They said, the lecturer, I can't remember exactly who it was, they said, I really do not care. This is me paraphrasing heavily. I
Mm-hmm.
really do not care where you are, what your background is in. I don't care whether you did a level of business. I don't care if you did A level economics. I don't know. I don't care if you did sciences or languages or
Mm-hmm.
English or anything. We are going to take you all back to basics
Yeah.
here, and we are going to level the playing field.
Yes.
And that stuck with me because it really made me feel like, because there's hundreds, if not thousands, of students at university who are doing business degrees, but you're coming from different schools, you're coming from different colleges, you're coming from different provisions, you're coming from different places in the country. Some people are flying in because they're international students. And so you need something that just kind of resets everyone. So no one feels like they know more or they've got the inside scoop or they're better than, but also no one feels inferior. They feel like, oh, I picked the wrong subjects, or I don't know this, or I don't know that. So yes, there may
Mm-hmm.
be things that come up in modules that you're aware of or that you have a base level understanding in, but to have an introduction to
Yeah.
business as a first module, as a first lecture of the first year, first term, like that is such a, it's grounding. It kind of
It's
just,
a foundation.
it is a foundation, and you need that. You need an introduction to anything. So So that's what I hear you
Mm,
saying in terms of it's not this and it's not that, in terms of
mm,
what you try and make it akin to what you already understand.
mm-hmm.
It is this, and it's
Yeah,
to give you your first step, which will then aid in your practice depending on which division you go down or what
yeah.
you
And that's the
specialize
thing.
in.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
it
amazing.
it because a lot of clerks or governance professionals get into the profession by accident,
Mm.
doing a favor for somebody, or because nobody else could do it, or because they were a PA in this role, then we'll just tag this on the end. And so it is, as you say, trying to just level the playing field so that everybody feels, or those who want it can feel able to raise their voice, because
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing, having the confidence, increase their knowledge, and create a career plan that isn't necessarily just in the education sector, because I think that's important.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to move out of it, but you can. The beauty about governance is that you can do it remotely, part-time, ad hoc, and so you may get experience in another sector. When I was doing the governance handbook for a company in the Middle East, they didn't employ me.
Yeah.
It was through a colleague of mine who said, Sharon, have you got the capacity to do this project? And it was a piece of work. That opportunity was based on the experience that I'd had and gained. So that's the point that I'm making on this program. And I just hope that I'm not sitting here saying it's perfect. I'm not sitting here saying it's going to do everything for everybody, but I hope that it goes some way to help build the confidence and the knowledge of governance in those who feel that they're lacking. So that was in. I launched that in February,
Mm-hmm.
and then in March,
In March.
I got a phone call. Sharon, have you got any capacity to cover a period of sick leave, please? And I was like, yeah, okay, I can do 3 months. So the deal was to the end of May. And this is the beauty of having a strong reputation. And I recognize that I do have that. I'm beginning to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Accept and acknowledge
Yeah,
it.
I'm beginning to accept that. I remember you saying to me years ago that your name is spoken in rooms that you're not present in.
Wow, not you remembering something I said, and I didn't even get that from myself. I heard that from someone else, another person that I feed from, Haley Melinda Record, and
All right.
it was her who I remember saying it. She probably got it from someone, but,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's who I heard it from, and it's so important. So I'm
Yeah,
glad that said
absolutely. And
you.
so and so I get this phone call, and of course, because of the person asking,
Mhm.
I said yes. They were in a situation where their trust governance professional went on sick leave immediately, and they needed cover.
Mhm.
And because I'm used to just parachuting in and parachuting out,
Yeah.
it wasn't a problem to me. I arrange my own diary. I'm self-employed, so I have that flexibility. And it's been an interesting time. It's been an amazing experience. And as you know me,
Yeah.
it has to be a two-way street for me
Mhm.
to get involved. I have to want to do something and see where I can learn
Mhm.
and grow,
Mhm.
rather than just bringing something to the table and not being fed myself.
Mhm.
So I'm at a trust in Warsaw,
Mhm.
and it's a trust of 9 schools, growing to 12 over this academic year. Um, and the trust governance professional is back now,
Mhm.
and so we're working together, because we're leading towards an external review of governance for the trust. So they've kept me on for a period of time. That has been a struggle because I started the program that I
Right, the
designed
month
in
before.
February.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so all this time that I thought I would have to
No,
dedicate to this program was sort of stripped
squeezed.
away. And so it's been a bit manic because I've
Mm,
got all the other projects I've got going on. I'm still working with a Japanese school, which is fascinating.
mhm.
And all of that. But the thing that has been almost like the creme de la creme of this year that has helped me to deliver all of the things that I'm doing.
You're moving into point three now, aren't you?
Yeah, we've got to take a
Okay.
break.
Yeah, we got to take a break. Let's hear from our sponsors, Governor Hub.
We know that you lead busy lives outside of being a governor or a trustee. You're volunteering to make a difference so that every child receives the education they deserve, whatever their circumstance. Here at Governor Hub, we want to make governance as easy as possible for you so that you can focus on what matters, having an impact. That's why with Governor Hub, you'll find everything you need to manage governance effectively all in one place. From the board tools in Governor Hub that allow you to manage all of your meetings, documents and the work of your board, to the guidance, resources and training in Governor Hub Knowledge that gives you and your fellow volunteers everything you need to be effective from day one. We work with more than 2/3 of schools in England to support great governance. Find out more at governorhub.com, and if you want to stay connected to the wider community of governors and trustees, go to thehoot.news.
Okay, let's bring it back. Thank you, Governor Hub. Let's bring it all the way back. And I'm just going to pick up very candidly on a point that you made earlier about how our podcasts are audio, but we
Uh-huh.
can actually see each other. So I could literally see in your body language that you were literally building up to this mountain peak where you were going to bring in point three, because of course I know what point three is now that I've been following your dialogue. And I was like, okay, we do need to pause because I know that this next bit is a solid point on its own.
Yeah.
So share with us, how have you been able to do all of the things that you've shared with us that you're doing and have been doing?
2 letters, AI.
AI.
AI. I dabbled in artificial intelligence, chat GPT in particular,
Mhm.
um, almost since it sort of first came out, because my partner is in that world. That's where he lives and breathes. And so for months, he kept saying to me, you've got to get onto this chat GPT. It's going to be amazing for governance. And I'm going, yeah, 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 yeah. And then every time he heard me complaining about the volume of things I needed to do, he was like, well, if you get onto chat GPT or AI, Claude AI, whatever, all the different large language platforms he talked about, then you'd be able to, fast track some things. So what I did, which is what I now tell people to do who are not using it, is just take 30 minutes maximum. 15 minutes will do it,
Yeah.
but 30 minutes of your time. Just decide that you are going to sit down, watch a YouTube video,
Mhm.
any YouTube video. You can just type in, Chat GPT for beginners or Copilot for beginners or whatever platform you choose to use, and watch that YouTube video. You don't want one that's more than 10, 15 minutes because it will get too technical after that. Then create yourself an account and just start to play.
Mhm.
Now, what AI that I think I mentioned it at the National Association of School and College Clerks conference last year, or the Governor Hub conference last year. I can't remember which one it was, but I mentioned at a conference, I did a session on using AI.
Mhm.
And I fundamentally believe that AI is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It is the worst it will ever be right now because it is constantly improving at a phenomenal rate. And so what it will do is separate us into two lines, those who embrace it and those who don't. Now, I understand it can be scary if you don't understand it, but for governance professionals especially, but also for governors and trustees and anybody working in any space really, my advice is to take the time to get to know what AI can do for you. The way in which I've been using it is from simple personal things. It could be writing a letter. My dad recently got a parking charge, and he was parked legally with his badge, with his disability badge, but from the camera angle they couldn't see the badge, so they sent him through this parking fine notice with a picture, and I drafted a letter. Now I used AI to draft that letter. Why? Not because I couldn't do it myself, but because it was just quicker. So I put in the details. I didn't put any names in or anything because you can keep it anonymous. Put in the details, what I wanted to do, the basics of what I wanted to do, and then just asked AI to draft it. And it literally did it in 10 seconds. And that's no exaggeration because that's how quickly the technology works. In terms of governance professionals, if governance professionals are being charged by the hour or are charging by the hour, then the mere fact that AI speeds things up means that it won't take them as long to do certain tasks, which means you will be losing money.
Yeah.
So one of the things, I've never charged by the hour. I always charge by the value I bring to the table.
Yeah.
And for some, it works with their budget, and for others, it doesn't. And that's fine. But I've never charged an hourly rate because I don't, what may take me half an hour may take somebody 3 hours, you know, based on my knowledge and experience before AI. So for governance professionals, it's really, really important that they start to look at it because AI governance is a different category of governance. So we've got data protection, we've got data governance. This is AI governance. That's going to be a different thing that we've got to start to focus on, all of the ethics and all of that around it. But for governors too, what I've done as a trustee myself, and when I was a governor until I stepped down last academic year, if there was a policy or something that needed reviewing, what I would do, and I do that now for my trust, is upload the policy, which is a public document, upload the policy to AI, put a prompt in, what's called a prompt, and ask AI to tell me if this policy is compliant against the DfE guidelines, if it is robust enough, if there are two versions of the policy, what the differences are. Because if you're in a trust and you've got you know, a complaints policy on this site, and then one school hasn't put the latest version on their site, and a parent in that school has made a complaint, you have to use that version of the policy because that's what they're using. You can't turn around and say, oh, the school's been using the wrong policy, this is it. You know, so that's one of the main reasons of making sure that your policies are correct and in date and all of that. And compare, I used AI to compare and contrast them to make sure that fundamentally they still said the same thing. You know, not that we would respond in 5 days on one policy, but another one said 10 days or something. You know, there could be obvious discrepancies like that. But there is, I'm working at the moment on using AI to assist with drafting minutes because minutes are the bane of every clerk's life.
We had an episode specifically about minutes. I think it was last season, if not prior, because it is something that a lot of people like have different opinions or feelings about at different stages of production of those minutes,
Yeah,
whether it's
it's
the
very
writing
hard.
them, whether it's the creating them when you're in the meeting, the writing them, and different people are involved as well. Then you've got to have them checked
Mm,
when they're at draft stage. Then it's getting them finalized and approved and all these different things. Then it's making sure you read them before the next meeting. So
yeah.
minutes are extremely important in governance.
Yeah, it's really good. I've used AI to summarize the key points of minutes
Mhm.
for a board report. I've used various documents like the information that I had on trustees and asked AI to create a professional profile. And because I did it for each of my trustees, it then meant that the style was similar, which
Mm.
really helped to reflect the trust.
Yeah.
Because I would upload the mem and arts and the scheme of delegation and the various things that made the trust and
Yeah.
not just a multi-academy trust, but this trust in
This
particular.
one. Yeah.
Because it's very different. The mission, the values, all of that. What's unique to this trust, and how can we craft our public face to make sure that they're all aligned.
Yeah.
So the thing to remember about AI, though, that people tend to forget is that you've got to know your stuff.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's not cheating. You have
No.
to know your stuff, because
Yes.
if I'm asking AI to do something, and then when I'm reading it through, I need to know whether it's correct or not
Yes.
from a governance standpoint. If it doesn't matter what it spits out at me, I have to know that
Yes.
that is right.
You have to read everything and examine it. I call it
Right.
examining, interrogating the response. So
Exactly.
as well as you crafting a prompt, because as you know, it's something I utilize a lot. Crafting prompts to put in. So you need to know what you're putting in. You need to know
Yes.
what you're asking it to produce. So the genesis, the genius still comes from you. The idea
Right.
still comes from you. I would say AI is there to assist. It's
That's
there
right.
to compute. What I would say, or based on my own experiences, is that because I'm a very creative person, I've been curious my entire life. So I'm constantly asking questions, coming up with ideas, thinking of different ways to do something or explain something or teach something. I have a lot of stuff that floats in my mind, but AI helps me to compute
Mhm.
so that it takes away the overwhelm from my creative process, which means then I can create more capacity to create because I have something externally to help me bring some cohesion or some be more concise and succinct with my ideas. So
Mhm.
you need to know what you're putting in,
Yeah.
but you also need to read absolutely everything that comes out
Yeah.
so that you can pick up on anything and be like, that's not right,
Yeah.
or this is veering off track a little bit, or that's good. I didn't know that existed, because sometimes you can be presented with stuff that you didn't know that is true, is
Mhm.
accurate,
Mhm.
but you need to sense check it. You need to be like,
Absolutely.
okay, where did this source from? Or maybe I need to check with a real person
Yeah.
who is more expert or is more knowledgeable of this area so that I can learn, because I've learned a lot from using AI because there's a lot of fields of expertise that I'm tapping into, but I need
Mhm.
to check against someone who's in that space
Yeah.
or knows about that space. So yes, it's so important to be involved in the process. You don't just hand stuff off to AI and leave it to do
Yeah, it
everything
doesn't work. Yeah,
and
that's
share.
where you will be caught out. You'll be
Yeah,
caught out big time.
definitely.
And so it's obviously not there to be abused in that way.
Mm,
And as I say, I fundamentally believe that it will help in terms of governance.
mhm,
But you have to embrace it and apply it,
mhm.
in my opinion. So that's what I've been doing over the summer.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
And
I,
it really has there's still like the mundane thing. I was doing a an agenda plan recently, and I'm sure AI could have fast tracked it for me, but there are some things you just still need to
To
do.
do on your own. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because there's power in the actual creation of
Yes.
something, because then
100%.
you know exactly what's in there,
Hmm.
because you've put it in there.
Hmm.
And because I'm still getting familiar with the trust that I'm in, because I
Hmm.
haven't done a full academic year, I wanted to create the agenda plan from scratch.
Hmm.
So it meant going back to meetings that I hadn't before I'd started, and looking at those agendas and what items came up on those agendas, so that I could pull them forward if relevant to this year and all of that. And it just helped me to get more familiar and to build my knowledge gaps on the trust that I'm currently in. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to the new academic year.
Yeah, same.
And I know that before we conclude this shorter session, that you have been my claim to fame is that I spent that half an hour with you on AI, because I've been talking
Oh,
to you about it for a while, and you kept saying, "Yeah, Mum, I know, I'll get round to it. Yeah, Mum, I know, I'll get round to it." And I was like, "Have you got half an hour?" And um, afterwards, so as good as I am at AI, you have 10x'd it. So do you want to just give us a snapshot, a very small, I don't know what the word is in Spanish, but a very small
hmm,
insight
hmm.
into how you have used and are using AI outside of your day job?
Yeah. So April was when we had that meeting. I think it was the first week of April. And if I'm honest, the journey for myself with um being open, receptive, utilizing AI has been quite an emotional one, if I'm very honest, because it's it's opened up an Olivia that I didn't know existed, but was always there,
Okay.
always there. So there have been moments when I've been wowed at what I've been able to produce, and it has made me pause and just made me want to cry, like, because it's just like, you know how before we were talking about how your vision scares you.
Yes.
And your vision is in front of you. It's usually the future. It's like usually what you're aiming for. What I've been experiencing is my present has been scaring me, but not scaring me to the point where I shut down. It's been scaring me to the point where I'm like, okay, let me stand in this. Let me own who I am, because I never saw myself as a writer. I've always been a speaker.
Hmm.
Anyone who knows me knows Olivia has always talked. Like,
Yeah.
I've always been a speaker, asking questions. So my curiosity lends itself well to being in the governance space, in as though you tend to be asking a lot of questions, but also just being able to communicate and have conversation. That is like my playground. That's a default for me. It's not really hard for me to compute having to speak to people, whether I know you or whether, this is the first time I'm encountering you. But creative writing has never really been something that I saw myself as having as a skill. Even back at school, I opted for English literature over English language because I could analyze text, I could read stories and compare and contrast and do all of that because my brain
Hmm.
has always been analytical. A lot of people who know me know that I was a maths tutor for over 10 years. So my brain computed in that way. It worked very logically, but also sporadically. So I know that I have a very unique way of computing things. But to write a story, I never saw myself as a writer. So that was almost suppressed expression for all of my life
Hmm.
until April. Because what you helped me to do was, I know, because you know me, I take a long time to make a decision at times, but when I make a decision, I can stand by it and it's absolutely the right one because my brain processes things. So I heard you talking about this AI for ages, but then you you kind of cornered me and you were like, Olivia, I'm going to show you what's possible, where you can kind of cut me out from something that I know that you can do. And so we took my ideas and we just tested them in the AI system. And I was like, oh, oh. And that took me to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because I was ohing all night, oohing and ahhing and ohing all night on my phone because I downloaded the app on my phone and it was free. So so I was like, what's the worst that can happen? So I was downloading and I was processing everything that I knew, anything like from being a tutor, from being a natural hair enthusiast, from being a school governor, speaking in schools about confidence building, just absolutely everything that I had done in my 30 plus years. I was just computing ideas. And what did that lead to? Me now writing fiction, like me being able to connect all the dots, bring everything together into a place that the everyday person can understand or can connect with, can engage with and stuff. And then it actually flashed me back. This is where the emotional bit comes in. It flashed me back to a story you've been telling me about me as a little girl for so long. And you've told it so well. It feels like a memory I have of myself, but it's not a self-generated memory. It's something that you've shared with me in a way that makes it real to me. You told me of this time when, I don't know how old I was, maybe 4 years old.
Is this at the surgery?
Yeah, being in the doctor's surgery.
I think you were probably younger than that, to be honest.
Maybe
you were a very precocious child.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. But yeah, you shared that I was in a doctor's surgery as this toddler, this very little girl, and I'm looking around the room and everyone just looks miserable. People just look unhappy. But as a child, you don't necessarily
understand.
Yeah, you don't understand that. Okay,
you're in a doctor's surgery. They're going to be ill.
Exactly. It's relative to the environment that you're in. But for me, I'm just like, people just don't look happy. And so I then started hanging out magazines and telling them, read this, like to kind of help them cheer up and stuff. And so that memory has been so prominent in my present day because it's like, Olivia, you were always supposed to give someone something to read, to elevate them, to make them feel better, whether it's emotionally, mentally, tap into that aspect of communication. So for years, I thought speaking was supposed to be my thing. And yes, I can speak naturally. It doesn't mean I won't speak because I'm here now speaking, but it's the one communication style that I never thought that I had as an ability, even though I don't find it hard to come up with words, but to write them down, that I'm now tapping into. And AI has helped with that because back to the point that I made about, I've always been a creative person. My brain is always on, but I would feel moments of complete overwhelm. I will be exhausted mentally. There'll be times when I'd wake up. So I've had a night's sleep and I wake up tired, drained, like I've got no energy to start my day because my brain activity has been so heavy throughout sleeping, throughout resting. So I'd wake up in my bed sluggish because my brain is always on. And I know everyone's brain is on, but my what I'm saying is I'm very aware. It's always active. It doesn't matter where I am, what environment I'm in, talking to myself, talking to my plants, talking to people, like I'm drawing in ideas constantly. And so what AI has helped me to do is just sift through that to allow the creative process to be unrelenting, to just keep going, to be continuous, but not overwhelm me, not drain me. And so that's what I've been doing over the past 3-4 months. I've been writing. So I have a growth community where grow stands for something, where I email every week. That's to develop my writing practice and discipline, accountability. So I connect with people there, talking about governance, talking about hair growth, talking about mindset and how you can access more abundance and how you can build in some strategies, daily practices that help you move forward, things that you can change today. But then I'm also writing fiction and I'm starting with a trilogy. I have so many ideas. My characters are explosive. The world that I'm building is exciting and I'm downloading my brain and it's so, so exciting. Scary, very scary. So just like your vision of taking your course nationally and internationally and covering governance in all these sectors, for me, just like how I said, my brain never switches off. I've already imagined my novels in the hands of people whilst they're on the train or, they're sitting in a coffee shop all over the world. These are things that I've actually seen, but I can only see them clearly now because I've accepted, I've acknowledged, and I've accepted that is something that I need to tap into because I've always had it since that little girl. So that's me. That's me over the last 4 months. So I'm actually quieter online because I've been living a lot offline. I've been doing a lot of, walking and breathing fresh air, touching grass. I've been calling it touching grass.
Earthing.
Yeah, definitely been earthing. But it's been so rejuvenating and so refreshing. And it's kind of ignited different conversational pieces at work in my day job, but also with my coaching clients, with my family, with friends, so I'm just looking forward to starting the new academic year. So I definitely am excited for this season. I'm excited for the guests that we'll have and the topics that we'll come up with and what will materialize over the next few months and years to come. So in terms of,
wow.
I was going to say, in terms of like takeaways, I think I've done mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think my takeaway is twofold really, and one goes back to the AI conversation that we've just had, in that a reiteration that it's not going anywhere. And I think for governors and trustees, understanding AI will help because with Generation Alpha being the majority generation in our schools today, Generation Beta will start to be born in 2025, so they will hit primary schools in the next 5 years, so by 2030, and they will be coming into that space being so AI competent, it will be scary.
Yeah.
That is fact. So my question to trustees and governors would be, how can we ensure that the strategic direction that we are setting for our schools and trusts will meet the needs of a generation that hasn't even been born yet?
Yeah.
So that is first and foremost. But also my takeaway again to trustees and governors is, we understand and we see you. You have worlds outside of the governance space.
Yeah.
We have worlds outside of the governance space that we occupy as part of our lives.
Yeah.
That is real. We've got other stuff going on. So we truly understand and value your commitment as volunteers. I do want to, use the opportunity at the start of this term. If nobody else says it to you, then understand and know that we value your commitment as volunteers. We see you, we understand that there are other things going on in your life, and many of them do need to take priority over your governorships, and so they should, in my opinion. But where you are able to continue your commitment, then we hope that you You bring your difference to make a difference. You bring your knowledge,
Yes.
and also that you bring your coachability, and your vulnerability to learn and understand new things as we navigate this thing called life.
100%. You see, this is how I know my takeaway was already said because you just said it. It's that feeding forward. It's just seeing yourself, because I think that's one of the biggest things that's happened for me this year. In my moments of stillness, in my moments of listening, where my mouth is shut, I've been able to go inward and be like, Olivia, you are someone of value and you've got untapped potential. And I just hope that other people feel that within themselves, whether you are in that rural area, whether you are on that school where you're struggling to fill vacancies, or whether you're in an environment where it's so loud that you feel like you're such a small piece of it, but you're still a big major contributor to that space. You've just got to see it within yourself. And so I say to everyone, best wishes for this academic year. You will be great because you already are.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please rate, review, and subscribe via your preferred streaming platform. The Governors Podcast is a brand of the legal entity Education Governance Solutions Limited and a free training resource for anyone. So if you know someone who is interested in becoming a governor or a trustee, please share this podcast with them. And if you'd like to get in touch with us directly with questions or comments, then drop us an email at thegovernorspodcast@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on social media platforms at The Governors Podcast. Let's connect.